Trax is sponsored by Can-Am. We're built for this. Polaris, the world leader in off-road innovation. And by Yamaha, conquer outdoors.
There are a lot of things I love about the off-road industry, but one of the things I love the most is how diverse and interesting it is. It never ceases to amaze me the lengths people will go to test the limits of their off-road vehicles. As with so many things, more often than not, people's interesting ways of testing their vehicle's limits end up creating a competition, which in turn ends up creating a race, or even a racing series. This is where King of the Hammers comes in. In the world of off-road racing, it is widely regarded as one of the most brutal and abusive off-road races for both man and machine. Oftentimes, over half the field doesn't even finish. For anyone unfamiliar with what King of the Hammers is, here's a short synopsis. The race covers 134 miles and combines both high-speed desert racing with undoubtedly the most brutal rock-crawling sections in the world. Racers qualify for starting position and leave in pairs in 30-second intervals. The car with the lowest finishing time wins. Although with a race this brutal, most would agree that just finishing is a win all in itself. This season, Can-Am introduced their Maverick X Rc with the new Smart Lock front diff. This vehicle is targeted at rock crawlers, but still maintains the high performance traits of the Maverick it's based on, making it the perfect vehicle for a race like this. Get a feel for both the race and the new Maverick X Rc, we caught up with off-road racing legend and Can-Am sponsored driver Currie at the 2018 King of the Hammers event.
My expertise, I guess you could say, is a little bit of everything. I race short course, I race desert, and I race the rocks. Over the last couple of years, I diversified. I do a lot of UTV stuff. I race different cars in every different discipline, so I've gotten creative in learning how to drive different things fast, quickly without having to adjust. And to me, I'll basically race anything. King of the Hammers has all of it. You know, when I say all of it, like if you're a desert guy or a short course guy or a rock guy, you're gonna be good in some places and bad in others. And you know, the first 70 miles is a lot desert with, you know, one rock obstacle that, you know, you gotta take your time. So you might have to shift it into 4 low and be aggressive in these tight little canes just for a short amount of time. The first 10 miles, it's fast sand, but it has rocks, so you have to like be careful. If you go fast and crash or get a flat tire, so you got to have those abilities to, you know, focus on going slow and being careful. But then there's 30-mile desert sections with 2-foot width, so you're doing 80 miles an hour in a UTV or in an Ultra 4 car, and then you get onto the second, third loop, and then it's just nasty rocks. I mean, it's the roughest canes in America, the nastiest of all nasty. Rocks everywhere. I mean, the size of cars just that you're driving over and everything, and like it's nasty. You can lose 10 minutes in the desert and think you lost the whole race, and then you go over to the first cane and get stuck, and what you think is 2 seconds ends up being 10 minutes, and now you're in second place because you got stuck literally shifting it into 4 low because there's a rock. So it's that, you know, the strategy is to get to the rocks first and then never stop in the rocks, because the rocks will kill you. I mean, they're just so brutal. I mean, it's so easy to crash or break parts. And, you know, you're not doing one trail, you're doing 15 trails that can take you out of the race. And, I mean, there's trails a quarter mile from the finish line that can take you to the event. So it's never, you know, just cruise it into the finish line. It's brutal all the way to that finish line. King of the Hammers is a week long. It's not just Saturday, Sunday. Actually, the main race is on Friday, and we race UTVs on Wednesday. And we're on a dry lake bed. We're 20 miles from any town. We're in the middle of nowhere. There's no power, there's no sewer, there's no water, there's nothing. There's 50,000 people, probably 30,000 campers here. Everyone's out here. No one's leaving. Everyone's enjoying their time. To say that this is one of the biggest races in the world, it's there. And, you know, now for spectators, we're here, you know, Saturday through the following Sunday. So to be here that long of a time and the people not leaving, it just shows you that this is probably the biggest race in North America.
Trax is sponsored by Princess Auto, a unique world of equipment, tools, and more. Closed captioning of Trax is sponsored by MVRP Power Sports, race-inspired performance.
Casey and his family have been competing at King of the Hammers for a long time and have had incredible success. This year, with Can-Am's release of the new Maverick X Rc, they're competing in the UTV class in a bit of a different way, though.
So with Can-Am, we have an amazing relationship. We do a lot with them on the media side and on the racing side. We come out to the Hammers, we come to win. Our little pitch is that, our cars aren't modified. We basically took stock cars, put arms on them so we can smash rocks, and then we put a roll cage on it for the rules, and that's it. Stock everything else, and we just come out here and, we know that we're competitive stock where everyone else has completely modified cars. So to me, it just shows you that you don't have to go buy a Can-Am and spend $10,000 to make it fun. You buy a Can-Am, you're ready to go fast right away.
For anyone who's unfamiliar with the new Maverick X Rc and what makes it special, here's a bit of an overview. The X Rc includes Can-Am's new Smart Lock front differential, which is an electronically activated multi-mode intelligent front diff that automatically adjusts front diff slippage based on the dash-mounted mode selection switch and input from 6 different vehicle-mounted sensors. In a nutshell, it's a differential that knows how much slip you need better than you ever could and automatically adjusts itself to the optimum level, allowing you to focus on driving and not on what your diff is or isn't doing. Casey has already said he races a basically stock Maverick X Rc at the King of the Hammers event. The questions we had for him were why and what makes the X Rc better than any other side-by-side under these extreme circumstances.
So the X Rc out of the box is an amazing Can-Am. I mean, for anybody that wants to go drive in the desert, to me, the way the front differential works, that's the Smart Lock, they've done a great job of setting it up that when you're in four-wheel drive in the sand or in the rocks or in the desert, they've put a clutch system in there that the way it works is it's always pulling. So the inside tire would on an open differential car, you might go into a stand and might want to push a little bit or it might slip a little bit, not giving you that forward drive on the exit of the corners, especially if there's chatter bumps where there's a lot of UTVs driving. Man, with the Can-Am and four-wheel drive on trail mode, you go into a corner and the thing just puts you back in the seat and accelerates out. And then you get in the rocks, you put the thing in rock mode, it's automatically locking the front differential, giving you a positive feedback, knowing both wheels are spinning at all times, and then really making the car drivable in the rocks. So now you get in these situations that no way an open differential car can make. That thing just will get up to those situations. You accelerate up and it goes.
After this season's King of the Hammers event, Currie Racing came home with impressive results. But the truth is, it's a team effort.
So I have a fantastic team. I got multiple guys that work in my shop all the time, servicing the UTVs, the Jeeps, the race cars. I got guys that come in and help do some fabrication. I got guys that come help do some prep work on the side. I have a very core group that, we stay tight in what we do. We have a shop, 7,000 square feet. We do most of everything right inside that shop. It's a small team, but I have a lot of great help. We do this and practice all the year. It's not one at a time. I don't have a job. This is my job. I get to live the dream. They say, some days are better than others, but our focus is to come out and try to figure out how to win these races. My brother works for me full time, and he does a great job all year round, and he has the skills to drive. He doesn't like to deal with a lot of the media or the sponsor stuff on the day-to-day because it can wear on anybody. And people don't see how stressful things get behind the scenes and the tough times, but to him, he just never was really into that kind of stuff. So for him to be able to work for me and not have to deal with that is basically my overseas manager. I mean, he helps manage the whole program for me.
Oh, we just made it through tech. Monster Energy number 22. Me and Cody Currie ready to go race now. Ready for some exciting, hard crawling, fast desert, dust, nerfing maybe. Hopefully not like last year, but now we're excited, ready to go.
So for him to be able to come here and I let him drive, I mean, he's got the skill. Like in the UTV race, he started 33rd and was 5th overall on physical by the first rocks and 1st overall by like 8 minutes. So he's got the skill, so for him, it's fun for me to see him get to go out there and rip it. And one of my guys rides with them, so now one of my guys is having fun. And once race day comes, it ain't working on cars. We have 2 cars with Can-Am and Monster that we help service and maintain. And I said, dude, let's get these cars ready. Let's go out and compete at the Hammers, and let's show you guys how great of a time it is. And at the same time, they can be there to help us if we need it, and we're in a situation. So it worked out, man. These guys all had a great time. My brother and I finished, and getting a top 5 and a top 10 is always good. And at the same time, all the stories and everything coming home from this is really what we need. And I think to make the sport grow, we need more people racing.
After an entire week at one of, if not the most grueling race in the off-road world, Currie Racing came away with some very impressive finishes that were made even more impressive when you stop to consider that the cars they were racing were, for all intents and purposes, stock. And in doing so, proved that Can-Am's XRC Maverick is one of the toughest and most capable side-by-sides ever built. If it survived King of the Hammers with Casey Currie behind the wheel, you can bet it'll survive anything you can throw at it.
Dirt Trax is sponsored by Shock Strap. Start strapped, stay strapped.
Last season on Dirt Trax, we built the Mud Racer, and it's been our most watched and anticipated build in Dirt Trax history. However, at the end of the season, we had a few issues. Today, I'm going to tell you exactly what went wrong and precisely how we're going to fix it. At the Smokin Spurs Mud Race last September, we took the Mud Racer to prove we could build a very competitive race quad on a budget and still compete. We proved that with some seriously impressive times and very little, wait, scratch that, zero testing prior to the race. We had literally just finished the build, and when we showed up at the race, we found a few drops of oil leaking from the front diff. Some folks asked why we raced it if it was leaking. And the simple answer is, after months of building this thing, we weren't going home, hairline crack in the diff or not. So Graham and I agreed, and we did get through most of the event until, well, you know what happened to Graham.
Did you get my flip? Oh, you know I did. Oh.
The end result was a front diff that sounded like a half-baked salmon flopping around in a bucket of bolts. And today I'm going to pull the front diff out and see exactly what's wrong, then replace and rebuild a stronger, completely overhauled front diff from Can-Am Parts Guy, who specialize in premium, new and used Can-Am parts. After a hose down, I want to split the front differential cases and see what went wrong. We're not going to be using this diff anymore because it's busted, so we might as well break the thing open and see what's happening. It had seemed that the excess stress of nearly twice the horsepower on a 10-year-old front diff, pushing significantly larger and more aggressive tires, exaggerated either a manufacturing flaw or a crack that otherwise hadn't made itself obvious. Under heavy load and with the visco-lock engaged, I'm guessing the fracture allowed internals to deviate and therefore caused a catastrophic failure and lockup of the front right wheel. Before we install the torque locker, we got to go ahead and take out visco lock from this front diff. Now, keep in mind that if you have an early generation Outlander and it's the first gen front diff, you're not going to be able to take visco lock out because it's non-serviceable and it's all welded in. If you have a second gen diff like we got from Can-Am Parts Guy, then you're going to be able to remove visco lock and put that torque locker back in. You can do it with both generations of front diff. It just works a little bit better if you can get rid of visco lock entirely with the second gen. When you're pulling visco lock out, you need to pay some special attention, and by this I mean keeping alignment of the parts and going easy on a few of the fasteners as they're easy to strip. Because this is a freshly rebuilt front diff, we're essentially sacrificing a brand new visco lock, but Torque Locker does recommend to install with visco removed. The Torque Locker comes with complete directions, and their website even has full how-to videos that'll help you with the process. With visco lock removed, install of the torque locker only takes a couple of minutes, and you can do this to any Can-Am front diff. When you're done, you're going to have a fully locking front diff when you select four-wheel drive. With the torque locker gears separated on the table, we need to install the axle gears top and bottom. Following the axle gears, both cam gears go in, making sure we align the keyways for a proper fit. We then rotate the torque locker to expose the two recessed spring pockets and install the springs. When installed correctly, they'll pop into place. To finish up, the cross pin goes back in and the outer case is reinstalled. And with that, we're ready to put this diff back into the ATV with visco lock gone and a true locker installed. With just axles to be installed, I'll do those next week, followed by a full cost breakdown of every part that we've put into the entire mud racing build.
Dirt Trax is sponsored by Argo. Go anywhere.
I don't think I would have ever imagined that we'd have come this far with the technology integration into side-by-sides. I mean, it's crazy what 10 years has done, how much car-like electronics have found their way into a side-by-side that you can walk into a dealership and buy. I mean, what's 10 years from now going to look like? For right now, we won't worry about the future because what we have in front of us is so feature-rich and full of new technology. But I will give you an overview of the specs and then we'll jump into the hands-on experience. 168 horsepower, 925cc dual overhead cam twin. Dry weight, 1,500 pounds. 64 inches wide. 13.5-inch ground clearance. 16-inch travel in the front. 18-inch travel in the rear. Maxxis Bighorn 29-inch tires on 14-inch rims. Power steering. 7-inch touchscreen GPS display. This is the Razer Dynamics. It doesn't look all that dissimilar from a Razer Turbo until you get nosy or strap yourself in. The Dynamics truly is the pinnacle of high-tech integration in the off-road world. It features a 7-inch full-color, interactive, glove-friendly touchscreen that gives you engine vitals and stats, much like a modern-day pickup truck. It also reveals the rear-facing built-in camera for keeping an eye on your buds or backing yourself into the campsite or trailer like a pro. Good deal, but the true integration is where the Dynamics name comes into play. On all four corners behind the wheels, you're going to find 2.5-inch body Fox Podium live valve shocks with bottom-out control, or quite simply put, the most techie shocks that I have ever seen on a side-by-side. Live valve means what we typically see as a user-adjustable clicker is now hooked up to the Razer's computer. It can adjust itself hundreds of times per second per wheel on the fly. It's able to actually live view the input each tire is receiving, link that with a throttle and speed sensor, along with reading the current position of the power steering, and account for what you're doing, and more uniquely, what you're going to be doing in certain situations. Let's say you cruise into the face of a jump with the throttle on. Dynamics recognizes the compression of the shocks, followed by the full dropout, and knows that you're in the air and are going to need more compression for the landing. Dynamics? It's pretty dynamic. It'll even sense your cornering through the steering wheel position and a body position sensor. The outside of the vehicle, front and rear, will become stiffer instantly as compared to the inside shocks, which keep the body roll minimized and increase the confidence of the driver, as well as keeping contact of the tires to the ground. Even something as simple as tapping the brakes will cause the front two shocks to stiffen in anticipation of eliminating front-end dive. This means more available wheel travel for potential objects you would have hit the brakes for and are inevitably going to contact. All the tech talk is nice, but does it really work as well as advertised, and are you going to notice all that big of a difference besides the base retail price as compared to a Razer Turbo? Even if I turned off the visualization screen that shows me in live time what each shock is doing, I'd still know there's something way different with the suspension of the Dynamics. And it's not the kind of realization you get when something has way too much compression on the clickers or is sprung too stiff. It's the realization that 3 seconds ago I hit a big jump, then landed, went through small whoops, hit a berm really fast, all the while the suspension seemed to perform, well, perfectly at each task. Something no matter the multi-rate spring setup or wide range adjustability are able to offer you across such a wide spectrum of terrain and vehicle motion. When you put the 168 horsepower turbo to the test and really stretch the connecting rods, you realize that Dynamics only adds to the confidence-inspiring driving experience of the Razer. The drivability of the Razer product line is already impressive. However, high speeds, loose ground, and the occasional unforeseen rut, hole, or uneven surface can cause you to really saw at the steering wheel. When Dynamics kicks in, which it does at a rate of multi-hundreds of times per second, you start to notice a very linear and seamless driving experience. The corners become flatter, the whoops smoother, counter steering is easier, and your riding experience is just all around better. Now, there are times where technology integration drives me crazy because it takes away an interaction that's instinctual. But in the case of the Razer Dynamics with Fox Podium live valve shocks, yep, that's just not the case. This thing is pretty dang incredible. From the Ride Command app to built-in GPS, standard quarter doors, and LED lighting, the Dynamics isn't just on-the-fly adaptive suspension. It's a whole lot more and a whole lot of industry-first innovations.
Dirt Trax Television has been sponsored by Polaris, the world leader in off-road innovation. Can-Am, we're built for this. And by Textron Off-Road, power, performance, and precision engineering.
It only takes 2 clicks to like and subscribe to our page, where you can check out a huge variety of ATV and side-by-side videos just like the one you watched.